Hello, everyone, and welcome back to CX Connect, brought to you by SpeechTech, CRM, and Smart Customer Service, and by our platinum sponsor, Verint. I'm Bob Fernikes, and I am the publisher of CRM Magazine. I'll be the moderator for today's event. This is our first virtual conference, although we've been doing webcasts since 1997, and many of you have been to our live in-person conferences, which will begin again in 2022. If you would like to attend another session or sessions tomorrow, just look on our website for the schedule. But for now, our presentation is titled AI-Driven Interaction Insights Powering Future of Real-Time Work, which I'm really excited to hear about. But before we start, we're just going to play a brief video, and then we'll get into the session.
My job has changed over the years. I guess most do. Today, I'm being asked to solve problems that didn't exist 2 years ago. We've changed the way we work and the way we engage with customers. My customers and my employees have new expectations, and they need to interact in new ways. And I am thriving. I'm connecting work, data, and experiences flawlessly. I'm rewiring my organization in weeks or months, not years. I'm creating differentiated experiences at scale, and I'm moving with more certainty than I've ever felt. It's because I've embraced what Verint calls boundless customer engagement. They're helping me build lasting relationships with my customers. I'm really transforming my AI ambitions into outcomes. I'm breaking down silos. I'm driving real-time action. Verint isn't reading my mind. This isn't magic. This is science. They're applying the science of customer engagement to billions of interactions with our customers. And this has helped me deliver boundless customer engagement. Sure, customer expectations are higher, but we're meeting them. And that makes me the hero. And I'm driving my company further. With Verint, it's all here.
Okay, that was a great way to set up this presentation. But before we start, I just want to explain how you can participate in this live broadcast. We will have a question and answer session at the end. So if you have questions during the presentation, just type them into the question and answer box. You can use chat for chatting with other people, but if you can just use the question and answer box, that would be great. And just for participating, you could win a $50 Amazon gift card, which will be announced during the Q&A session. So now to introduce our speaker for today, we've got Daniel Ziv, Vice President, Speech and Text Analytics, Global Product Strategy at Verint Customer Engagement Solutions. Welcome to the broadcast, Daniel.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks, everybody. It's really an honor and a pleasure to be here at CX Connect and sharing these insights, really talking about AI-driven interaction insights and how that powers the future of work and the future of real-time work. So we'll just get started. A lot of changes have happened this year. The acceleration of digital transformation, and it impacted both the workforce and the consumers. And I think a lot of these changes are continuing and are here to stay. They're not just, the pandemic. Hopefully we're seeing the end of that, but a lot of these, some of them had a positive impact. Obviously they were very challenging, but if we look at the workforce, working from anywhere, again, created opportunity, but also challenges. I think there's a lot of solutions, technology solutions and organizational, new ideas and structures to really support that. We've also seen, new combos of generational shifts. So working from anywhere allows a broader set of employees, both globally as well as age, different generations getting into the workforce, both, higher and lower age groups that can now participate. We've also seen this combination of humans and bots, creating this hybrid workforce in some cases, self-service replacing some human jobs. But what I like better is to see how AI can help humans do their job more effectively, and support them in both challenging times, as well as, being able to work more freely in different areas. On the consumer side, we've seen, continued elevation of their expectations. This was a challenging year for many consumers, life-altering situations, health-related, financial-related, distress. And I think expectations, consumers are expecting more and more from organizations, and many organizations have stepped up, and that raises the bar higher for everybody else. We see more acceptance and obviously rise of using self-service, and but also the need for human contact. Even if you're not doing it in person, there was, the explosion of these types of mediums is people still need contact, still want to see, face-to-face interaction, interacting with other humans, have a choice of different journeys and different channels. So all of these have created opportunity, but also a very strategic challenge. What we call at Verint the engagement capacity gap. And that really, to define that, is you're seeing an exponential growth of the dynamics of the workforce, and of the customer expectations, and also the number and channels of interaction all growing, in some cases exponentially, while the resources that organizations have, especially the human resources, are more or less flat. Some did grow, but for the most part, that is not a scalable option to continue to add more, increase the workforce exponentially. So that creates an increasing gap that has to be addressed in order to meet customer demand and customer expectations, and maintain high levels of customer experience. And it's a very challenging gap because it continues to grow. And this is really what Verint is focused on. And this really is the imperative that we see as what we call the boundless customer engagement. How do you continue to support customers and engage with them and build those lasting relationships without needing to significantly increase all the resources and funds, but do it in a more efficient, more effective way? And the Verint solution set and the Verint Cloud Platform is really built to create this opportunity of boundless customer engagement. So let's peel that a little bit, or unpack that into sort of these 5 pillars of what we hear from our customers of what they really need. They're looking to really to power today's distributed workforce. What are the sets of solutions that allow somebody working from anywhere and making them as efficient, and if not more efficient in many cases, than when they were in the office. Even if they do come into the office once in a while, it looks like it's not going to be back to normal. Then we need the tools and the insights, and really this is what this session is very much focused on, is how to really understand customers, listen to them very deeply across all channels, especially rich unstructured channels like the voice channel or text channels, and be able to take action on those insights. There's also a need to break down silos in organizations, especially now that they're so distributed. And this is data silos. You want to combine data assets and also, decision making and insights across, and democratize the insights across the organization. And we also realize that changes will continue, and the pace of change has been so rapid that you really can't assume that if you're investing in a certain platform, a certain solution, that may meet your needs today, but we need to be future proof. We need to be open to allow that platform to integrate into other solutions and to share data across solutions, in order to meet the future needs that we don't even know what we will need. And finally, solutions need to be focused on driving value and return and ROI and impact in immediately or very soon. We just don't have the time to think, okay, this is an investment, we'll only see the return 3-4 years from now, because we don't even know what 3-4 years from now will bring. So those are some of the requirements that we see from organizations, and again, the things that Verint is focused on. Now let's dive into, look at a CXO or head of customer service, and these is what these executives are facing today. These are the challenges that we're seeing specific to these roles. First of all, CX, customer experience and engagement, is a top of mind of many senior executives, not just CXOs, but almost any senior executive in the organization, is thinking about and asking themselves, are we meeting customer expectations? Can we increase customer loyalty? Can we reduce churn? Those are top of mind. On top of that, there's still, in some cases, even more policy and compliance regulations. Are we compliant, both with internal regulations and external and legal requirements? Are we managing complaints and escalations in an effective way? Then efficiency and cost continues to be a key part of solving the engagement capacity gap. How do we do this more efficient? How do we do more with less, right? How can we reduce costs? Can we transition to self-service? What can we transition to self-service in a way that doesn't hurt the customer engagement? All that needs to be powered by real insights, by customer insights. Do I understand what customers need and what they want and why they're calling us or why they're interacting with us, and constantly monitoring and collecting that insight and sharing that and taking action on that. Revenue and growth, obviously important to many functions and for any company, right? But it's really about how do we maximize the opportunity? So a lot of we've seen revenue go through phone channel, through other, text channels where, that replaced to some, the human to human interactions in branches. But we see that opportunities, continues, and companies that did effectively sell through these digital channels did much better. And then finally, back to the remote employee, how do you hire? How do you train? How do you supervise? How do you motivate employees when they're working from home? And do they have the skills and all the tools they need? So all of these, create a challenging environment, and you need a platform or a set of solutions that really can support these challenges. So, how our organization, addressing and responding to these challenges is, I know if you're familiar with DMG Consulting, it's an excellent, they could come up with very good reports in this area for many years. And this is one of their latest report that was, I think it's posted online, so you can look through that. And really, these are the top 5 contact center technology priorities for 2021. And I don't think these are surprising, but I think I want to go through for a second and look at this. First, self-service. Obviously, I think every organization realized that they need solutions like IVRs and IVAs and bots to really self-serve, to address the surge in requirements and engagement from customers. That's pretty obvious. It reduces the cost, it adds scale. But obviously, doing this right is not trivial. The second really imperative is cloud. We've seen a huge transition to cloud, and one of the reasons is overall it can save costs. The total cost of ownership in most cases is much, it's much more effective. But it's also the agility. You're much more nimble when you're in the cloud. You can change things. You can add capabilities. You can add solutions. And Verint's been very, very focused on helping organizations make that transition to the cloud, which is not always easy. We allow this ability to maintain and leverage what you have on-prem, but slowly add services in the cloud. And then if you look at the next 3, speech and text analytics is really the third imperative. And I think part of it is because of the need for those insights to understand and listen deeply to your customers. But also, even if you think of the first 2, is being able to add these capabilities in the cloud, as well as identifying what can be self-served. What are the interactions that we're hearing, people calling that we can transition to self-service? What are the actual words and phrases? So I'm not surprised that is the third. And then the fourth related to that is really democratizing these insights through reports that can be shared in dashboards across the enterprise. So everybody, breaking down those silos of data and insights. And finally, quality. When you talk about compliance, many organizations have this process of manually reviewing, a small percentage of interactions. Now, if you're in one location, you can walk the floor. There's other things you can do. But if you're remote, you really want to extend that and have full coverage. How do you, monitor 100% of interactions to really create a foolproof compliance program and much higher level of quality management? And these are fed also from the same analytics engines. So you can see 3 of the 5 key priorities are related to what we're talking today is interaction insights, and we'll touch on real-time work in a minute. So if we look at the Verint portfolio or the Verint platform and the set of solutions that support that relate to interaction insights and analytics, these are really the core capability. The first is speech analytics. Speech analytics, Verint was one of the pioneers in this space, and this is the most used speech analytics solution in the world. It's really taking human-to-human voice conversations, transcribing them, indexing them, and providing insights. These are voice is still a really important channel. Although we've seen explosive growth in other new channels, voice hasn't gone away. There's no decline in voice for most organizations. In some cases, also an increase, sometimes with spikes. But more importantly, this is the richest source. A 5-minute phone call is over 1,000 words. It's a really rich set of source to understand your customer deeply, especially in mission critical and moments of truth. And it's also the most expensive channel in many cases, other maybe than human to human interaction in the branch. But for that means you want to optimize that channel, but also learn from that channel and how to leverage some of that insights to other digital and self-service channels. So that's really a key part, and really sometimes the crown jewel of these set of solutions. But we see more and more demand for text analytics, which is sort of the sister application that does very similar ability to mine textual interactions like email and chat and other survey comments, anything that originated in text, and being able to create a unified view of what's happening across these different unstructured channels. Desktop and process analytics is another set of solutions that monitor the agent's desktop, both in real time and offline, to see what the agent is doing or not doing, to capture data, mission critical metadata from these interactions, like, what's the customer profile? What's the customer history? Is the customer at risk for some reason or another? And extract that and marry that with ability to do much better segmentation when you're analyzing. So that's a key component. We talked about automated quality. We saw from the DMG report how important that is, really creating coverage on 100% of interactions and automatically scoring them. And that's really fed from the same engine. We'll talk about Davinci in a minute. Real-time agent assist also. So analytics typically was done either near real time or after the fact, where the interaction's over, we're analyzing and learning from that. We're seeing the big picture. But can we move that up, the speed and do this in real time and actually, impact the outcome of an interaction to better and lead to better outcomes through real-time guidance and real-time alerting. And that's become even more mission critical than ever when working remotely or working from home. And finally, XM, what we call XM or experience management, is really a comprehensive set of insights about the customer. We can learn from speech and text analytics about inferred, what the customer is really feeling and their sentiment, but we can also do proactive surveys and ask specific questions and collect digital or other sources of feedback and look at all that big picture for a CX executive to see what do we know about this customer, on an individual customer or at our segments as a whole. So you can see it's a very rich set of capabilities. They're all powered by the Verint Davinci AI Engine. And that's really the core is, there's some capability that's, high level and a high accuracy of transcription, of sentiment analysis. These are all things that feed into all these different applications and also could be fed through a cloud service to other third-party applications. Now, these analytics or interaction insight sets of solutions are part of the overall Verint platform, what we call the customer engagement cloud platform. And there's 3 overall pillars. Most of what I talked about fits in what we call the future of work, helping organizations prepare and be enabled for handling work as it's evolving. But it also feeds into experience management. As I said, we are collecting all these sources of feedback about the customer experience, and creating these views and dashboards and reports so you can see the whole journey across channels from a customer's perspective. And finally, in the data, all this generates and builds and creates a lot of very rich data, and we want to unify that. And that's what we do with engagement data management, which is the hub of all interaction data for the organization. Again, all of these are enriched and powered by the Davinci AI Engine, and they serve different departments across the enterprise, not just contact center or CX, but also the back office and the branch and the compliance teams and IT and marketing. And it's part of, this platform sits within an ecosystem of partners that provide other solutions and implementations in different formats. So this is really what's needed in order to address this big challenge of the engagement capacity gap. Let's talk a little bit about the AI engine here. So what does that mean? That's really a set of AI type capabilities that things like biometric authentication, identifying who's speaking, and making sure that reduces the effort on the agent side and on the customer side and saves costs, but increases the authentication level and reduces fraud. Transcription, both in real time and offline, is another key, and getting to the highest level of transcription and comprehension accuracy to serve all these different applications. calculating a sentiment score automatically from voice or text interactions. Another AI service, intent identification. In order to effectively do self-service, you need to identify intent in a very accurate and a very granular level, and that's built for intent or for other applications like call summarization. So these are just some examples of what do we mean by this AI engine, this brain that serves all these applications. And Verint's been developing and utilizing these capabilities for many years. And really what makes Verint, what differentiates Verint as an AI company is these four pillars. Is first of all, the data assets. AI relies on data. Without rich and accurate data, there is no AI. That's how AI learns. And Verint's hub and also experience in this place for decades, we've been collecting and mining, billions of customer interactions in many languages in many countries, for over 10,000 customers. So really one of the global leaders in this type of data. There's other, companies that really build AI applications. They have really different data assets, but in this area of customer engagement, customer interactions, Verint definitely is. I don't know there's many companies that can surpass the level of data that we've had. Also expertise. We've always not just been collecting this data, but mining, applying things like machine learning and NLP applications and generating analytics and insights with this data for many years, and really turning it into ROI, not just data for the sake of data. That's through the wide portfolio set of solutions that, as I mentioned, you saw that can leverage this data, and really all driven by innovation. The Davinci AI engine is really a combination of many aspects, a lot of intellectual property, and a lot of research and R&D in this area. And just a few examples of some of the innovations that have come this year. The first is a new breakthrough speech engine. So at the heart of this, creating an accurate transcript, and more importantly, extracting insights from that transcript to create really high comprehension accuracy for intent purposes or for analytics purposes. That's what Verint is focused on, and we launched a cloud-based AI engine that's now being deployed live for customers, which allows customers to tune their model. So their accuracy is really specific to their environment, which is different than other vendors that have a generic model. Supporting different modes like stereo conversations versus mono conversations, supporting both, being able to identify the customer and the agent, being able to export this rich transcripts for use of predictive modeling and other use cases. And a set of APIs that allow it to enrich this data and to redact this data and all applications like that. Another important innovation is really the marketplace, the Verint Marketplace. This is a cloud-based offering that's free to Verint customers. And there's a lot of APIs, there's a lot of documentation and knowledge, but what I want to highlight is, last year during COVID, we realized that COVID in itself was a new word, and coronavirus and all these terms that suddenly came into our lexicon, and people needed to identify them to understand what customers were asking about. We created a set of out-of-the-box categories and shared them with our community, of our customers, and it was huge success to really out of the box download it, apply it, and have all your customer interactions tagged with COVID-related questions. We realized that we don't need to wait for a pandemic, and there's a lot of things like that. Repeat calls, complaints, confusion, praise, profanity, escalations, churn, complaints, language barrier questions, happiness, excitement. All those pretty generic, pretty applicable to many different verticals. Obviously, customers can download them, apply them, and use them out of the box, but they can also tweak them and test them to see that they really are relevant for them. And that's been a service. We have over 100 of these tags that can be applied, and now you have this understanding of your customers across different sites. So that's been an exciting area. And in addition to all these categories, we also have out-of-the-box reports. One of the most useful ones and really been appreciated by many of customers is our sentiment report. So it's really a new algorithm that calculates sentiment on a 5-point scale from -2 to +2. And can be done on voice interactions. We have the similar capability on text interactions. That gives you really true coverage about whether the customer was happy or not happy on every interactions automatically out of the box. And you can slice this by, distribute it by agents, by employees over time, different products. So this is really a useful extraction of or enrichment of data out of every interaction. Think that you don't really need, you can apply, and we've seen the accuracy when you match this against survey of questions, how happy were you, or would you recommend us, or any customer satisfaction, we see a correlation of around 90%, which is really encouraging. But now you have this for free, across all your interactions, and it's one of those things that available resource on the marketplace. So those are just some of those innovations that I wanted to highlight. But most importantly is how this is being utilized and what's the impact. So we just last month finished our Engage, our Verint Engage event. It was a virtual event. I always miss the human to human interactions. Hopefully we'll get back to that next year, but it was an amazing event. We got over 5,000 customers and partners attend from all over the world. And the beauty of it, all this is still available on demand. So if you missed it, no worries. In these sessions that I'm highlighting here, some of the award winner sessions are available on demand. There's a link there and that you can copy, and we can share a PDF of this. But really, Thrivent was an example of how they saw speech analytics being 2020 was definitely a challenging year, but speech analytics was one of the silver linings in that year for them. And they titled this as how speech analytics thrived during a transformational journey, a pandemic, stock market volatility, and social unrest. Again, lots of busy year and challenging year, but they applied this across 7 contact centers. They supported digital transformation, a new brand and logo, which require a lot of communications with customers and a lot of understanding and sentiment. They've reached coverage of 85 to 90% of calls across all that are tagged automatically. They created daily COVID updates and market volatility updates for their executive leadership team, and their executives were wow. They didn't even know, how powerful this tool was. Some didn't even know they had it, and realized there's so many insights they didn't even know they didn't know. And that's really the power of speech analytics when you're looking at all these conversations and mining 100% of them and transcribing all these words and generating insights. It can be quite powerful. So I encourage you to try to catch those sessions on demand if you can. And again, the insights power a whole set of workflow applications. And if we look at the Verint platform, so interaction insights is just one component, but it feeds into, as we talked, for example, quality and compliance. Obviously, one way is to automate the coverage of and score 100%, but a lot of organizations still prefer to look at, to handpick specific evaluations or specific interactions and listen to them. So interaction insights can identify those and feed those into a workflow for quality and compliance, or identify interactions that may require review because there's some compliance risk there. We talked about self-service, how you can identify from human to human conversations what needs to or can be self-served, what is driving the most volume and the most cost, and using the actual words and personas that can be used for effective self-service. And again, we're using the same engine for both, so it's a very transferable set of data and insights. We talked about experience management, feeding these insights to view the customer perspective on 100% of interactions. And finally, from a data perspective, getting everything, all the engagement and all the interaction data into a single hub where you can marry this with other data sources and build predictive models and build new third-party applications with this data. So that was really the first part of the insights that happen when we collect everything, we mine everything. And a lot of the feeding and a lot of the direction we're seeing in the market is how do we shift that to real time? So rather than learn after the fact, how do we learn during the interaction itself, or leverage historical learning that during interaction we can actually take action and change the outcome? So let's talk a little bit about real-time work. So as we looked before at the executive view of what's on a CX executive's mind or customer service, let's go down to the agent level, which is really the hero of the unsung hero of, in many cases, this pandemic, I think, or this challenging year, because they were in the front line. They had to answer, the customer questions that may have been already frustrated because they were waiting for a long time or had a hard time getting through. And they have to be aware that if you're if you're not using self-service and already a consumer is reaching a human, they need empathy. They need, understanding the customer sentiment, and applying the right empathy is so important. Just as important as actually giving the right information is that connection. And that it's really an opportunity to build loyalty and trust with a brand. So that has to be on the agent's mind. And sometimes the agents typically are very good at that, but in an environment working from home and stressful, maybe the baby's crying, there's a lot of other factors that may impair agents' ability, and that's where AI can come in and help identify complaints and escalations and negative sentiment and provide some guidance. Then there's compliance and policy. Agent, even though they're remote and there's no peer or supervisor, they still need to be fully compliant and make sure they're giving the right information and following the right procedures. There's also cost aspects. They can't just spend 30 minutes talking, and just providing empathy. They need to be cautious and conscious of the cost and the length of the call, and can they do this more efficiently. Then there's the whole issue of authentication. This became sort of a soft belly of fraud where fraudsters could just keep calling, agents maybe at home and eventually get enough information to penetrate and take over an account. So they need to be aware of that and make sure they're doing the right, education. And voice biometrics as a service can provide some of that guidance and help with that, and also reduce the effort on the customer and the agent at the same time. Also, some of these voice and text channels are really great upsell and cross-sell opportunities. You have a customer on the phone, they're telling you what their problem is, how you utilizing that effectively to provide in a right way with the right words, an upsell or cross-sell opportunity. And finally, just having the right knowledge, which keeps changing because policies and the dynamics keeps changing, should be able to answer the question correctly. So a lot, really, you need to be superhuman to be able to address all of these. And that's what we're seeing the market responding to. Organizations are turning to AI to make agents superhuman. There was a report from McKinsey and Company last year talking about technology and innovation and building the superhuman agent. And what was noted, I mean, it's an interesting report, but I like the fact that they noted that retaining the human element and striking the right balance between human and digital is really important. So yes, self-service is accelerating, digital is accelerating, but people need that human touch, especially when we deal with sort of life-altering situations or situations that require empathy, and agents need that help. So AI can help automate, but can also help these agents, become superhuman, if you will. And Keith Dawson, who's been covering this space for years, very respected analyst, and has made a very bold statement here that, 3 in 5 organizations will have turned to real-time analytics to provide guidance to contact center agents within the next 3 years. So if you're not thinking about this already, you're probably behind the curve. And we've seen some amazing examples of how this is being utilized. Let's look at some of the results. This report came late last year by Aberdeen, looked at organizations that use real-time guidance to support their agents. And it's pretty compelling. If you can see, they compared non-users and users of these types of AI coaching capabilities. You can see that customer retention is really almost 3 times higher. Customer satisfaction is 3 times higher. Improvement in agent and customer effort scores. So, significantly higher, almost 8 times higher. Very, very striking results. And we continue to go down the agent productivity side. Again, more than double the productivity with this type of support. More than double in terms of first call resolution rates. Significant improvement in average costs per customer. Improvement in SLAs, improvement in agent utilization rates. And significantly helping, the supervisor aspect, the supervisor guidance aspect. You really can't do that effectively, especially in a remote environment, without these tools. So we can see the results are, and this is based on over 300 organizations that are using or not using these solutions. Now, Verint's had real-time guidance solutions for a while now, and we've learned a lot. We realized what works and what doesn't. Getting real-time guidance right is not trivial. It's not just about, somebody said the word cancel, let's pop up a bunch of things for the agent. We need the context. Context is king in this case. It's really mission critical, and to know what's really going on. And to do that, we realize we need different triggers to understand what we call linguistic triggers. What's being spoken, and we run real-time transcription basically in real time, and understand the spoken words and have triggers that we're looking for to see these keywords that are mentioned in the right context. But we also have acoustic triggers. What if I put the customer on hold for 3 minutes and tend to my child or my dog, or just go get a coffee? I mean, that's happened, and we can identify that and say, hey, there's something, it's been too long with no talk. Let's get back to the customer here and guide the agent to that. Or even the opposite is there's an overtalk. The customer and the agent are talking over each other, or the agent interrupting the customer, and they need to be coached. Hold back, give the agent, give the customer time to finish his sentence. And there's also the application triggers. Really, who is that customer? We may not know, may not be mentioned on the call, but we can identify that through what's on the agent's desktop. What's the profile of the customer? What's the history of this customer? And apply that to whether or not this kind of trigger or this kind of pop-up is relevant. Verint is unique that we combine these into a real-time agent assist solution with a unified front end. So let's look what this I'm going to do a quick 2-minute video here to show and demo how this works, so you understand the power of this solution.
When a customer interaction involves a complaint or escalation, real-time assistance can be the difference between a satisfied customer or one who is lost to the competition. Now that many interactions are taking place over digital channels like chat or from agents working from home, real-time guidance and support are more important than ever before. Let's look at an example. Cassandra is a contact center agent. When she starts a call with a customer, the Work Assist window pops up to provide guidance. During the call, using Verint's AI technology, Work Assist recognizes the customer is frustrated and alerts the agent. Then it provides guidance to help her. Later in the call, the system recognizes that the agent has interrupted the customer several times as he tries to respond. The system coaches her to let the customer complete his sentence before responding. Towards the end of the call, and following the coaching and guidance to the agent, the customer seems to express positive sentiment and is satisfied with the call resolution. The Verint solution offers similar guidance during a digital interaction via chat. Let's look at an example. Cassandra is assisting a customer via chat. The Work Assist window opens to provide in-the-moment assistance. Now, Robert, her customer, would like to update his payment terms. The system recognizes that the customer is in good standing and that the agent is on the application page for updating payment terms. The system notifies Cassandra that she can provide an update to Robert's payment terms with no fee. She doesn't have to wait for approval or hunt for the information in other systems. What you are seeing is an RPA linked directly to customer engagement. No other RPA in the market today can do this. With Verint, you can use these solutions to improve your CX, reduce costs, and close the engagement capacity gap.
Okay, so gives you an idea of how this works, but let's look at an example of a customer. This is another great award-winning session from the Verint Engage event, a company called Florius, part of a very large international bank. And this is a complete customer-centric mortgage service, which used a whole different solutions from the Verint platform, but specifically RealTime Work. And this was amazing. So in challenging time, there was actually a lot of interest rates are low and people need to refinance to address, financial challenges. They took, a challenge. This is not even in English. This was in Dutch. And they ran this within 4 months of running real-time agent assist. They managed to improve their NPS by 22%. They managed to improve first contact resolution by almost 10%. Reduce average hold time. So immediate impact by impacting the interaction as it's happening and on specific targeted issues. So very powerful when you have the insights, and apply them in real time, and agents feel more connected when they're working from home. The agents love it. Actually, I encourage you to catch this session on demand, the full session, and just see that this does work, and companies are using these types of solutions and achieving significant value. And if we look at, where this applies, not everything has to be done in real time, but when you're trying to reduce cost, handle time, real time has an impact. And you're trying to increase compliance, you have to do it in real time. Trying to figure out where you had a compliance breach, it's really too late. You want to prevent that. Customer experience, again, you have to impact that during the interaction. Trying to fix it after the fact, much harder. And also doing this in a way that's effective for the agent. We don't want to spam the agent with too much information. We want to be very careful and very cautious with the right context and right frequency and very simple and unified, this work assist that shows you the guidance when you need it, only what you need, not too many gauges and not too much information to distract the agent. We want the agent focused on serving the customer and listening to the customer, but they may need a nudge here or there, or some hint, sort of a cheat sheet on their desktop to help them navigate through these difficult challenges and difficult conversations. And Verint looks at real-time work as a holistic, it's almost like a new category because, so obviously holistically here, we talked about the linguistic and acoustic triggers, the application triggers, the unified cloud UI, but we can expand and Verint has a very strong contextual knowledge capability. So we can identify what's happening and automatically update knowledge management so the agent doesn't have to be disturbed, but has what they need at their fingertips all the time based on the best assessment of what's going on in the conversation. Also, Verint has a set of self-service, but those virtual assistants can also be applied to support the agent. And we have customers using real-time employee virtual assistants where the agent proactively can ask the virtual assistant for help while they're serving a live customer. So we're looking at this as really a holistic view and how do we support the agent end to end in real time for those moments of truth to create better outcomes. So to summarize, the Verint platform has many advantages on the business impact. I mean, this is proven ROI. This is not some cutting edge, bleeding edge technology that has no proof. This has been deployed over 2,000 deployments, customer deployments around the world. It's ranked with the highest, comprehension accuracy, which it's not just the transcription itself, but understanding what the intent is, understanding what the category are, what the topics are. Ability to add these or transition these solutions to the cloud very quickly through the Verint platform. The synergies between the applications, as you saw, this is not just one thing. This insights can feed into different workflows, different applications, and that we've been doing it for a long time with a global set of experts. This is not easy. There's a lot of guidance and help that we can provide, and other peers, because it's the most used solution in the world in this area. There's a lot of other companies and users that can help you and through the Verint community to really achieve that impact that we talked about. And from the technical side or the IT side, at the end of the day, this has the lowest cost of ownership, and it also the biggest range of scale, from 50 agents to 50,000 agents. These are live deployments that have been proven. It's fully encrypted and safe, whether you're doing it on-prem or in the cloud. It's a set of extensive APIs allowing you to feed this insights into other third-party or partner applications or things you develop yourselves. Very flexible in terms of doing this on-prem, on cloud, or some combination of both. And really, because it's part of a whole cloud platform, there's no expensive integrations and costly transcription services or storage services. And really, these advantages lead to our leadership in this space. It's the number. I mentioned DMG. That's a report. The latest DMG report on interaction analytics came out just recently. And the fourth year in a row, actually, Verint is the highest rated solution by customers using this, with the highest market share by number of customers deployed in over 80 languages. But it's also won the only vendor that won 5 categories in the Speech People Choice Award for speech to text, for machine learning, for chatbots, for IVRs, for speech analytics, and consistently rates as the best contact center analytics in the CRM industry awards. So we're very proud of it, and it's been my passion for almost 20 years. I'd love to engage with you if you have any questions now, or follow up with us, engage with us through all these different channels, or just email me directly. But again, pleasure being here, and hope to connect and engage soon. Bob, back to you.
Hey, great presentation, Daniel. Excellent. Obviously, Verint's got a huge customer base, long history of success, and all of this information is extremely relevant today. So I just want to invite the audience, if you have any questions for Daniel, he's right here right now. So type them into the question box and hit submit. And in the meantime, I'm going to ask this question. In your experience, is there a preferred order of deployment of these solutions? For example, first deploying interaction insights and then real-time work solutions. How would you handle that?
Yeah, I think, if you asked me this a few years ago, I would definitely say, first, you want a map of what's happening. Deploy interaction insights, things like speech analytics and text analytics, get a map of where you have gaps, where you have opportunities, and use that insight to then apply those to real-time guidance. And we've been doing this for so long that we now know what works and what doesn't work in real time. So in the latest RealTime Agent Assist release, we've created triggers that are available out of the box, things like escalations and complaints and sentiment, positive and negative, and long silences and interruptions. Those are pretty generic and they apply to most organizations, and they can run this out of the box without even having the full map of what the other opportunities are. So then it doesn't really matter the order. If you want to customize your own set of categories, then I would agree you need to first identify, use a sandbox, use speech analytics, for example, to monitor and look at calls and see, okay, here's examples where we're missing a sales opportunity, or we're missing a retention opportunity, and then creating a custom. Within speech analytics, you can build a category and then import it as a real-time trigger, and that flow makes sense. That's how a lot of our customers have created 50 different real-time triggers for their agents, and then dynamically update them and change them. So I do think there's a lot of synergy between the two. I do think that flow for custom triggers, you first have to do the offline and then apply real-time. But if you want to do real-time right now, we have sets of things that have been proven to work that you can do even without the pre-work, just to get you, faster time to insights and faster ROI. So
Fantastic. Okay, so here's another question. Some of the largest companies in the world, like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, are now offering cloud-based voice transcription services. How does that impact the market, and how does Verint compete with them?
Yeah, great. So first of all, I love it. I mean, I'm really, this used to be sort of this, science fiction niche market, 20 years ago, where nobody believed this can actually work. Now you see the biggest company in the world providing transcription, understanding the value of unstructured data and voice data, and providing these services. So it's exciting. I think it helps educate the market, and there's so many other, use cases that we're seeing leveraging this data, and companies with huge evaluations that are running. So it's exciting to be within company of the best companies in the world. That being said, Verint has a huge advantage, and how we compete is, first of all, we have a lot more experience in this particular space. Like I said, the data assets we have, the number of language models we have, and deployments, number of customer deployments across 80 languages. Even the biggest companies in the world don't have that experience in that data set that we have in this space. Also, that's why we launched the new transcription engine, because we realize there's so many advances in this space that we have, we have to strive for the highest level of accuracy out of the box, but then exceed that with customization. Again, most of these other models are, you get what you get, and it may not fit your environment. It may be a great generic model, but in your environment, you need some tuning. You need to update. We have the ability to add words and change words and things like that these other companies, are not there yet. And the broad set of using the data. Transcription is just the first step. Right. Mature solutions for automation of quality, for speech analytics, for real-time guidance, all those have been proven. These companies, it's great to mostly how we compete is by partnering with them. We work very closely with Amazon and AWS. We work, Google's a Verint customer. I think there's a lot of synergy, and there is some overlap in some cases, but really at the end of the day, it's the pie itself keeps growing, and that's how all these companies can succeed. So generally, I think it's a good thing, but it's nice to be among these giants.
Yeah, absolutely, and they seem to be driving the market, at least on the consumer side, which is where most people see it. Well, it looks like we have a shy audience today, so we may wrap things up. So if you'd like to, just kind of conclude or not, that's fine. But we're going to wrap things up a little early, but excellent presentation.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. And again, please connect. I'm, as you can see, excited and passionate about this space, and hope you are as well. And again, wish you a fantastic 2021.
Thank you so much. And we have a winner for the $50 Amazon gift card. Her name is Michelle McLemore. Michelle McLemore, you have $50 to spend on Amazon. So I'd like to thank everybody that joined us today, especially like to thank Daniel for speaking today, and Verint for sponsoring CX Connect. If anybody, I know we got some questions about, hey, can I view the archive or get a copy of the presentation, don't worry, you'll all receive emails from us. So that's not going to be a problem. It will be posted on our YouTube channel tonight, I think. So, so I think that takes care of the housekeeping. If you'd like to join us again tomorrow, we'll be starting again at 11 o'clock in the morning with a presentation, What's Next in CX Insights from Research on Modern Expectations with Customer. So that's tomorrow at 11 o'clock. Thanks so much, Daniel. Really appreciate you. Thanks for Verint for sponsoring today's event. Thank you.
Thanks.